today, November 30th, 2021. This meeting will be conducted by video conference in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, including sections 551.125 and 551.127 regarding remote meetings. Mrs. Gonzalez, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Contreras? Ms. Guanajuato-Webb?
Absent.
Ms. Haynes? Ms.
Here.
Haynes?
Here.
Here. Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Overfelt?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
And myself, sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members, and this meeting is duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. I'll turn it over to administration. Dr. Rios.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mesa. Thank y'all for having this special call meeting so that we may present our audit. Ms. Childress will be introducing the auditors who will present the audit, and then Ms. Childress would formally ask for approval of the audit. Ms. Childress, can you let our guests into the control room?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Reno did say that our guest was in the control room.
They're logged in.
Okay,
They're logged in now.
all right. Do you want me to go ahead and begin?
Yes, so you can begin and then introduce Mr. Belt.
Okay, do we need to do the consent agenda first? We had minutes on there.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Mesa. We do have minutes on the consent agenda that we have to approve.
Okay, all of a sudden I see November 15, 2021. It's a regular school board meeting for November, and there's minutes, and I believe they should be attached, which they are. If there's no corrections, you might want to look through it and see if you have been counted for attendance. And then the donations and everything else that included on the consent agenda. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Any corrections? Hearing none. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Overfelt. All those in favor, could you raise your right hand? Motion carries unanimously with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. Okay, we'll go on to item 13A, which is business and finance. This is consideration to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Amy.
Good afternoon, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The 2020-2021 audit has been performed by Belt Harris Petrusek, LLP, in compliance with components of the Single Audit Act of 1984 and subsequent amendments 1996 and OMB Circular A-133, as well as many other guidelines, including but not limited to the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and Statement on Auditing Standards number 74 and 68, and Government Auditing Standards. Mr. Robert Belt, a representative from Belt Harris Petrusek, LLP, will present the audit and answer any questions from the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Amy. Again, Robert Belt, I'm the managing partner of Belt Harris Petrusek. Our firm is somewhat of a niche provider of audits for governmental entities across the state of Texas. By volume, we're one of the largest producers of audits for school districts in the state, and as well as we serve as the auditors for a number of the state universities within the state as well. So we've got quite a big background in the educational field within Texas. It's our honor to present to you your annual financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2021. And I guess the first thing to really highlight, although I'm sure you're vastly aware of this, that the district changed year ends this year. So in the past, it was August 31st. So now it's June 30th. So that's probably the biggest thing that we'll be talking about and looking at as we go through the financial statements, is that you've adopted what we call a short fiscal year to basically bridge you over to that new year end. Again, honored to present your audit results. Over on page 7 is our independent auditor's report, which is it is a unqualified, unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can provide to you that all the disclosures required by generally accepted accounting principles have been included and the financial statements are materially correct. So that is the desired letter that you are wanting to get, and so that is excellent news. In the very back of the report, we've also issued 2 additional letters regarding to your federal grant programs. And again, there were no findings within those reports, so those would be considered to be clean reports as well. So that is great news. Just jumping over into the financial statements, on page 30 is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. If you were just going to look at one page in the whole document, this would be the page to look at. But the general fund is presented in the far left-hand column. The total revenues for the year came in at approximately $98 million. Expenditures for the year came in at approximately $86 million. After taking into account some special items and other issues, the net change in fund balance was a whopping $14 million for the year. So that is a massive increase, and primarily a good portion of that is related to the change in the fiscal year. So that's kind of a one-time change, so that will not be repeating itself again. You began the year with a fund balance of $29 million, and you ended the year with a fund balance of $43 million. And again, that is a very extremely healthy fund balance. In most cases, we're generally recommending, or most financial advisors are recommending, that you have on average about 60 days of your operating expenditures on hand. And so that has you almost at 50%. So that is an excellent fund balance position to be in. And again, that primarily results from the change in the fiscal year in. And I believe that was one of the primary drivers for the change in the fiscal year in, is so you're compared more favorably with other districts in the state that also have June 30th year end. So that is great news to have. Again, I don't want to take up too much of your time today. That's kind of the it from a 20,000 foot level and looking at the financial statements. I am more than happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Bill, I guess this question should be referred to Dr. Rios. We have not received 100% of the wire fraud money. Does that adversely affect us in any way?
No, sir, it does not adversely affect us. And the amount of money that's left to be received is really minimal in compared to what we've already received, Mr. Mesa. It really is a very small portion of that wire fraud money. It's not going to have it's not going to affect us negatively, and it's not going to have a significant impact on our fund balance. We're talking about maybe $100,000. I think 90,000 is the number that rings a bell. So we're okay with that.
And the other question is, we have a digital copy of the audit. We do not have a hard copy. Will we be receiving one?
Yes, Mr. Mesa. We'll provide one either at the next board packet, or if anybody would like one ahead of time, we'll deliver the hard copy just so that you have one.
Okay, those are my only questions. Anyone else? I think that would be it.
No, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Smith?
Yeah, so the scoring, there's no real scoring on this audit. It's just a pass, fail kind of deal, or how's this type of audit work?
Yeah,
as far as the final report.
For our purposes, with the desired passing grade, so to speak, would be an unmodified report, unmodified opinion. If we found something that we took exception to, that would be a modified opinion. And so that would not be desirable. So it is clean in that regard. Now, your financial advisors and the credit rating agencies and things like that will look at the data to see if the data, how you score in terms of credit rating aspect, but that's not our job. Our job is to primarily make sure all the disclosures are there and that the data is accurately presented based upon your accounting system.
Okay. All right. So from a scale of 1 to 10 for a 4 finding audit, how would this stack up to other districts?
It's way up there at the top. I mean, there's obviously a well-managed, well-run district. You're very large operations. Anytime you're dealing with this much money, you can't achieve success without having a lot of good things in place. Our job as the auditor, though, is to go out and find out the weak spots, though, and that's what we're out looking for. But we didn't observe any in conducting our audit.
Okay, and your audit was done remote, or you were in-house? I wasn't aware.
I believe it was a combination. We probably did some testing on site, but majority of it is we've switched over the majority of our audits to a substantially remote audit environment.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mesa, if I may just ask Mr.
Yes.
Belt one question. So, Mr. Belt, thank you for all the work, and I know that that because of the distance, y'all had to consider whether you were going to keep us on as a client. So we appreciate y'all getting us to this point, especially this year that we ran a shorter budget season. In the audit, we did get an unqualified, unmodified audit, which is great. Congratulations to Amy and all her team. There's always findings, and yesterday we shared with the board about 4 findings that y'all had, and in the greater scheme of things, my opinion of it was that they were minor, just some entries that maybe should have had just a little bit more detail on it, or just a little bit more forward planning in some accounts that we were going to use. But those findings, I believe there was 4 of them, in comparison to any other audits, I'm assuming that those are just normal because we handle so many budgets that if you find 4 things to mark up, I mean, that definitely didn't take away from the overall unqualified status of it. But how would you compare that to other districts that y'all audit?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question. First of all, I would kind of want to jump into the letter itself and kind of break down the nature of the findings. But one of the most heinous thing that we would have in a letter of this nature will be what we describe as a material weakness. And there were no material weaknesses noted. And that's related to your internal controls, related to how you manage the money and present the information within your financial statements. The next item is related to what we call a significant deficiency. It's basically the same thing, but a lesser scale. Again, there were no significant deficiencies. All of the findings that were presented in your letter is what we call other matters. And that's just generally incidental legal type things that we noted in performing our audit that we are, again, required to report to the board when we come across those things. And they were all, again, more on the legal side rather than the accounting side of things. And that was, as you said, the budget variance, the program intent codes, and then the collateralization of some of the deposits. And so, again, as you said, when you're running a district of this size, it's you want to try to avoid those things, but they do occasionally happen. And again, we report to them, but none of the items negatively impact you from a TEA standpoint of the first rating indicator. If we had a significant, or had we had a material weakness, that would have knocked you out of the first rating indicator, just that one item by itself.
Thank you for the answer, sir.
I just want to mention to the board that in I believe on my 16th year of service with the board, I've never seen a more healthier fund balance than this. And yet all the work that has been going on, so credit to administration, because a lot of the renovation and different projects were done in-house with a lot of the staff that we currently have. And so this is the healthiest fund balance that I've ever observed in some time. So
Is that due to the timing of the audit or the changing of the fiscal year? Or is that like a true increase in overall fund balance for the year if we average that through the year?
It's both, Mr. Smith. It's both. We changed the cycle, the budget cycle, with the purpose of increasing the fund balance. But it is, it's money that's served for good. It's not going to happen again. It is a one-time thing. But our strategy was to shift the calendar year to be in line with other districts and benefit from the fund balance.
I believe the district would have had a good fiscal financial year, even had stayed on the same the old year in. It would have still had a good year. But in theory, you are picking up 2 months of revenues or 2 months of expenditures when you change that fiscal year. So it's basically, if you divide your budget by 12 and then times 2, that theoretically is the increase to your fund balance.
Thank you for that clarity. That helps.
anyone else? I don't see any hands raised. If not, I will entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Smith, is there a second to the motion?
Haynes.
Is there somebody?
Ms. Haynes seconded the motion.
Haynes, Amy Haynes seconded the motion. All those in favor? I don't see the rest, Dr. Rios.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll take a roll call vote, Mr. Mesa, just for minute purposes.
Okay, Ms. Gonzalez,
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
myself, aye. Josh?
Aye.
In favor? Amy Haynes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion carries unanimously with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. Thank you very much, Dr. Rios.
So that was it. We just appreciate everybody's time, and we'll look forward to the next meeting. We can have a motion. Sorry, we'll call for a motion to conclude the meeting. We'll be done.
Thank you, sir. And just reminder that I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow at 3:30, and then after that, the following day, I'll be in Austin for the next 3 days.
Yes, sir.
All right, there being no other business, no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Mr. Smith and Amy Haynes seconded. All those in favor? Again,
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
I see everyone.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.